He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got everybody here in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands.
Where's all the militant 2A gun nuts? Where are yous? Because you've been arguing like my entire fucking life that you have to have all that weaponry just in case there's tyranny, in case the government turns against us. Then you gotta fight it. Guess what? I don't know if you've been paying attention, but there's tyranny happening. It's time. Now's the moment. It's your time to shine, motherfuckers. You've been out in the woods with your friends practicing karate. I've seen the videos. I've seen it. You and Billy Bob and Bubba and Jim Joe out there fucking working on your fucking moves. Waiting for this moment. You've been living for it. Fantasizing about it. Right? It's time. It's time. Listen. I know it's super awkward that the guy who turned against you is also your cult leader. I know, so fucking awkward. But you're patriots. You are fucking patriots, right? This is what you're living for. The Constitution, fucking 2A. Let's go. Go get your friends, get all your shit out of your bunkers, and be the fucking heroes that you were meant to be. All right?
So Trump was opening one of his golf courses in Scotland. He was giving this big speech on the green in front of the press.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I dressed up as if I worked on the resort.
It's an amazing day, very historic day.
And then I threw hundreds of golf balls at his feet.
Those are the new balls you ordered.
I said, everyone, this is part of the new Donald Trump golf range. And they all had swastikas on them.
These are the new balls available from the clubhouse as part of the new Trump Turnberry range. Got a few here for you, sir.
He didn't find it funny.
Get him out.
Sorry, Mr. Trump, I meant to give them out earlier.
It was actually the Scottish police that got to me first. Cuffed me, arrested me, chucked me in the back of a van. I sat there crapping myself for over an hour. And then this big, burly, armed officer yanks open the van door, says, "Yous, mate, are very fucking funny."
There's a great and a bloody fight around this whole world tonight. In the battle of bombs and shrapnel rain, Hitler told the world around he would tear our union down. But our union's gonna break them slavery chains. And our union's gonna break them slavery chains. I walked up on a mountain in the middle of the sky. Could see every farm and every town. I could see all the people in this whole wide world. That's a union that'll tear the fascists down, down, down.
Over the rainbow, why then, oh why can't I?
50 states, one Israel. What is that? Well, the state of Israel just posted this on their Instagram a few hours ago. Quote, the 50 states, one Israel delegation has landed in Israel. 250 American legislators will spend the coming week in Israel and experience it as it truly is by doing this kind of thing, which I guess is required for all U.S. government officials. Okay, I just want to point out to everybody that since Charlie Kirk was assassinated on September 10th, the U.S. government has blocked the Epstein files release, passed an amendment that bans the Pentagon from boycotting Israel, proposed a bill from Marco Rubio to revoke passports for critics of Israel. The House also approved $650 million for Israel's missile defense. And as you just saw there, Marco Rubio visited Israel. And now, once again, there are 250 legislators in Israel at the 50 states One Israel delegation being serenaded with Somewhere Over the Rainbow, a song known as a Project Monarch trigger for mind control MK Ultra slaves to activate them to do bidding against their will.
I think our country is occupied.
Who do you think we're occupied by?
AIPAC.
A lot of people think that.
The evidence is all there. We send $18 billion a year to Israel. Why? Just ask the question, what do we get out of it?
Nothing.
We get nothing. Are we doing humanitarian work? No, they're charged with genocide. They're killing off Palestinians. Are we helping them survive? Well, they've got a higher standard of living than we do, a longer lifespan than we do, free education, free housing, free health care, but we're sending them money. Why? Ask yourself why a U.S. congressman can wear an Israeli military uniform in congressional chambers. I would think that would be an act of treason. But they did. Nobody said anything. I have difficulty looking at that in any other way than we're occupied.
Hi, I'm a part of the woke mob, and I did not mean to frighten anyone. I've heard so much about the woke mob, and it sounds really scary, but I'm a part of it. Woke, of course, simply meaning alert to racial injustice. And I'm alert to racial injustice. It has been expanded to being alert to other injustices as well, because civil rights have been rolled back across this country for lots of groups. Anyway, and then the mob part, I don't know, I like to quilt, and I make art. I like to listen to music. Let's see, I read. Those are some things I do. I like to go to concerts.
We're going to be saying goodbye to the H-1B program. Trump just changed the rules. If a company is going to sponsor you for an H-1B, either you or the company have to pay the U.S. government $100,000. Why is Trump destroying the H-1B program? Nobody knows for sure. Could take some guesses. One, he doesn't particularly like India. Just put 50% tariffs on India, and 75% of the tech workers who come on H-1Bs are from India. Is that a possibility? He doesn't like Silicon Valley. They seem to lean liberal. They're Democrats. Is that a possibility?
Very angry, mean Biden. You know, Biden was always a mean guy, but never a smart guy. You know, even you go back 30 years ago, 40 years ago, he was a stupid guy, but he was always a mean son of a bitch, you know?
If you are surrounded by fucking idiots, evade and elude them at all costs. The condition of the idiot is contagious. And there is no benefit to the interaction with fucking idiots.
I'm the president of the United States. Don't ever talk to the president that way.
I am the king.
Any man who must say, I am the king, is no true king.
In the past 24 hours, we witnessed 2 instances of major cover-ups and possible corruption, and no one is talking about it. If President Biden were in office, they would be calling for his impeachment right now. The first, Tom Homan, Donald Trump's top border czar, was caught accepting $50,000 in cash from undercover FBI agents last year as part of an FBI sting into whether or not he would curry favor for favorable government contracts during the second Trump term. And when Trump took office, that investigation just went away. Homan was never charged, despite accepting the money. And last night, Donald Trump posted what appeared to be a private message to Attorney General Pam Bondi. He posted on his Truth Social, urging her to charge his political opponents with criminal charges. From Adam Schiff to former FBI Director James Comey to New York Attorney General Letitia James. These stories, if under President Biden, would be nonstop coverage, and there would be calls for his impeachment likely.
Here's what you need to know about the man crafting and overseeing President Trump's cruelest policies. Hi, I'm Rolling Stone politics reporter Nikki McCann Ramirez. President Miller, Shadow Secretary of Defense, the real Attorney General, the DHS boss. Those are just some of the ways White House sources and Republicans close to Trump have described White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller in interviews with Rolling Stone. Stephen Miller made a name for himself during the first Trump term as a speechwriter and immigration advisor who masterminded the administration's family separation policy at the border. This time around, he's been granted unprecedented power and influence over 3 of the most important federal agencies. Sources tell Rolling Stone that Miller is the effective head of the Departments of Justice, Homeland Security, and Defense, or War.
I think it's a much more appropriate name, especially in light of where the world is right now.
And with the blessing of the president, has authored some of the administration's most authoritarian policies, carrying out mass deportations without due process, deploying the military to democratic cities, and working to create a vast network of inhumane migrant detention camps are just some of Miller's pet initiatives. Miller helps draw up virtually everything that Trump signs, from policy packages to constitutionally dubious executive orders, and according to members of the administration, he becomes enraged when he feels his vision isn't becoming reality fast enough. As one longtime Trump advisor put it, he is, quote, one intense motherfucker. In effect, Miller has become what may be the most powerful unelected bureaucrat in the history of the United States. And while Trump is golfing and daydreaming about the details of the White House's brand new ballroom, Miller has every lever of power at his disposal to reshape the country in service of his twisted, far-right worldview.
Please explain it to me. The man in charge of the economy's got 6 bankruptcies. Asking ChatGPT to define GDP, defunding education when half the country can't read. Well, now it's clicking for me. You need the people asleep, and knowledge is the greatest threat to propaganda machines. Remember, books don't burn, they just quietly vanish. So don't wait till it's too late to panic. Iceberg, Titanic, threat level orange. Don't you see that they're ignoring our rights? It's fascism wrapped in red, blue, and white. Coward, traitor, liar, foe, grabber, tyrant by the toe, fucker, fascist, puppet, show, line 'em up like dominoes. Coward, traitor, liar, foe, grabber, tyrant by the toe, fucker, fascist, puppet, show, line 'em up like
Mr. Gun Rights was shot to death. And as the world erupted in shock, I could only wonder if he knew this was the America he had spent so much time fighting for. Mr. Gun Rights was shot to death, and within 25 minutes, the story had gotten more news coverage than any school shooting ever had. Look, a tragedy is a tragedy, and a death is a death, and I will still say rest in peace. But I will say it in the same way he said to children, as he argued that their lives were a necessary sacrifice for a man's right to hold a gun. All this just so that Uncle Jack can hang a shotgun on his wall, but I wonder if Charlie's supporters knew that he was also defending the right of Uncle Jack's nephew to pick it off the wall and take it to school. A tragedy is a tragedy, and a death is a death, and I will say rest in peace, but I also know that if that gun was pointed at anybody else, Charlie Kirk himself would call it a necessary byproduct of the Second Amendment. And I still cannot believe that this was his argument to keep the Second Amendment. A death is a death, but the way I see it, his message was shot right back at him.
Pay attention to the names Eric Siebert and Lindsay Halligan. Their names you probably don't know, but you should. Eric Siebert was until Friday evening the acting U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia. He comes from a family of Republican law enforcement folks. His dad was the Attorney General of Virginia.
These are some
Y'all remember this photo? This girl's like 14 or 15 at the time. Do you know who this is?
Something happened this week that has my hair on fire, and I am sounding the alarm. The United States Department of Education just announced it's teaming up with, dear God help us, Moms for Liberty, PragerU, the Heritage Foundation, Turning Point USA, and Hillsdale College to lead what they're calling patriotic education. The federal government is legitimizing groups whose entire mission has been to push a hard-right, revisionist version of history. These are organizations that fight to ban books. It matches the education chapter of Project 2025 almost word for word. You remember Project 2025, right? the conservative playbook the Heritage Foundation wrote for Trump's return to power? And now, we're watching it being put into action. We know where this leads. Authoritarian regimes throughout history have always started with education and not.
In case you needed a reminder that Donald Trump is the most corrupt president in American history, MSNBC is reporting that White House border czar Tom Homan was caught on tape last year by the FBI accepting a $50,000 bribe to get government contracts for private businesses. And what did Donald Trump's Department of Justice do the minute that he took office? They buried it. They're not planning on holding him accountable. They're certainly not going to investigate it. And that is the textbook definition of what corruption looks like. And what
the conservative media apparatus that exists can gaslight a lot of people into believing a lot of things, but you can't gaslight them into believing their paycheck is going further. You can't gaslight into believing them that making them believe that their rent is cheaper or that they're closer to buying a house, that they have more money in their pockets. It just doesn't work that way.
Marvel Studios has announced that it will be leaving Fayette County in Georgia and taking its 20,000 jobs with it to Germany. This will add to the over 800,000 layoffs that have already occurred in the United States so far in 2025. Now, for anybody unfamiliar, this area of Georgia was kind of the unofficial film capital of the South, where companies traditionally had gone there for cheaper labor, less taxes, all of that in Georgia in order to have a good employer environment. But Marvel cited that the main driver was healthcare cost and how much it cost them versus what they would be paying in Germany to move the operations there. So again, not a good sign when you have this kind of mass influx of jobs either leaving America or companies downsizing this much for the already very inflated that economy that we have here in 2020.
Children will be taught to love America. Children will be taught to be patriots. Children will be taught civic values for schools that want federal taxpayer funding. So as we close the Department of Education and we provide funding to states,
no one is fooled as to why suddenly the President of the United States is declaring emergencies in cities across the country and deploying armed troops against American citizens, despite the fact that crime rates, at least in the District of Columbia, are at a 30-year low. This is very obviously a blatant and egregious attempt to redirect attention from a very real and ongoing crime. The crime which is the massive and epic cover-up for Jeffrey Epstein's abuse and that of other rich and powerful men who engaged with and supported him over the course of decades.
I wasn't going to ruffle any feathers on the internet today, but some of you like to tussle. And I just want to say, the only thing worse than MAGA men are MAGA women. You are literally a traitor to your own sex. It's like punching yourself in the face. You're not in their club. They don't like you. They don't care about you. Go look up how long it took for women to have the right to vote, to work, to file for divorce, to get a credit card, to buy a house, and ask, whose side do you really want to be on here? Forgive me, but I don't understand how any woman would want to defend a man who is guilty of so many sexual assault allegations. Some, which he's been convicted of, he's an adjudicated rapist. He's made disgusting comments about women from day one. He's made comments about his own daughters, and his own wives have filed charges against him. So you know he's in those files that haven't been released. And now they're trying to say that if you do vote against it, you are now an enemy of the state. Why? Why do you think he's going to such extremes? But the point is, women who are okay with this, you are defending sexism so you can enjoy racism. The crazy part is if you look at the stats, if we deported men between the ages of 17 and 50 that are MAGA and replaced them with immigrants, that crime would drop almost 80%. Crimes against women and children would be almost zero. What do you think all this anti-DEI stuff is about? You think it's just racism? No, it's about women too. They literally took away your right to bodily autonomy for healthcare. The government, people who are not doctors, are taking away your right. Meanwhile, women are 51% of the population, 70% of the poor, 83% of the single parent population, producing 50% of the work output, but earn less and only own 1% of land in this country. But while you're mad at liberal women, you're really just hating yourself.
I have a question for people that are on the right or lean to the right or support this administration. And I'm genuinely seeking, with curiosity, a real response. I'm not looking to fight. And I'm going to focus on a specific word of something that J.D. Vance said. Okay? He said it is a statistical truth that the political violence in this country comes from the extreme left or the far left. I'm not sure of the exact word on that, but I know he said statistical. That was a word he said. And statistical implies that there's stats to prove that statistical truth. And so I looked at the stats, and I looked at all of the stats that I could find on the internet, and ranging from conservative think pieces to the other side. And quite literally, all of the stats say the opposite. All of them. And so my question to you is, when you hear the people that are leading this country say it is a statistical fact, do you just take them at their word? Like they're bestowed upon us by God, and God wouldn't let them lie to you? Is that what happens? Or do you ever check those stats? And if you ever check those stats and see that they don't balance up, what's your next step in justifying it? Like, do you think they have some secret stats that aren't available to everyone else?
Our ancestors built the cities. They produced the art and architecture. They built the industry. They cannot imagine what they have awakened. They cannot conceive of the army that they have arisen in all of us.
Here's what the Vice President J.D. Vance tweeted this morning. It's shocking to me that so many left-wing politicians attack the idea of prayer in response to a tragedy. Literally no one thinks prayer is a substitute for action. First of all, nobody's attacking prayer. Prayer is important. But this idea that you are going to take action to protect our kids, nobody is believing it. In fact, we've watched this administration take action this year, and every single one of your actions has been to make it more likely that kids are going to get shot to death in schools or on the streets. Let's talk about...
You're not going to believe this shit. Here's your latest unhinged headlines. Up first, Captain Kinkles has a new fundraising slogan. I'm alive. Why does he have to rub it in? That's the new tagline for Taco's latest fundraising email as he begs MAGA for their money. But you may remember that just a few days ago, he was asking for $15 donations to get to heaven. Come on, we all know the truth.
He is f***ing Satan.
Up next, the Chump family ballooned their net worth by $5 billion on Monday after their new World Liberty meme coin hit the markets, despite the fact that it crashed faster than Rudy Giuliani's car. Don't worry, he's getting a medal, and he's fine. Next, more fuckery in Florida. The human rights hellhole that is Alligator Alcatraz is expected to cost taxpayers $20 million to disassemble. Oh, and that's on top of the $245 million it costs to put up. But don't worry, because there are now 21 Republican states fighting with DeSantis for its survival. Because when they said drain the swamp, they didn't mean the one with merch. Want more unhinged headlines? Don't forget.
We got more news about Charlie Kirk. They come out and says, the guy who does the autopsy says, there was no exit wound from a .30-06 bullet. It goes in the flesh of his neck right here. And his bones were so dense that, his words, it was like he was Superman and it stopped the bullet. Guys, .30-06 bullets are incredibly powerful. They're for things like moose hunting. I hunt deer with them because I feel like it's more ethical. They go through trees sometimes. They'll go through like 16 inches of ballistic gel. But yet, the flesh of his neck right here to the jugular, which was supposedly from straight on, somehow managed to stop the bullet. His bones were so strong that it stopped a .30-06 from exiting out the back, because they said, had it not have stopped it, the people behind him probably would have been dead too, whoever was standing behind him. Do they take us as idiots? It's mind-blowing how they think that we're so dumb to not understand that this is all fake. It's all a lie. They are lying to us. A .30-06 probably would have blown Charlie's head off. That gun.
This question is for anybody who is not an American. Anybody who is not in the United States. If you are in the United States and you want an answer to this question too, just a heart. Just give me a like. That way we know how many people want an answer to this. But do not comment if you are in the States. I want these comments reserved for anybody who is not an American. Anybody who is not in the United States. Here's my question. What do you see? What do you see happening here? What is getting reported on about what is happening in the United States here? We need to know what
rumor, and I don't know if it's so or not, that Cuba, they don't have Tylenol because they don't have the money for Tylenol, and they have virtually no autism. Okay, tell me about that one. Rumor, and I don't know.
To Bobby and the group, let's do it now. Nothing bad can happen. It can only good happen. But with Tylenol, don't take it. Don't take it. And if you can't live, if your fever is so bad, you have to take one because there's no alternative to that. Sadly, first question, what can you take instead? It's actually, there's not an alternative to that. And as you know, other of the medicines are absolutely proven bad. I mean, they've been proven bad with the aspirins and the Advils and others, right? And they've been proven bad.
Hi, my name is Dr. Rubin, and holy cow, folks, that was a disaster of a press conference. President Trump went on for about 10, 11 minutes with various falsehoods, anti-vaccine fear-mongering talking points, and then talked about Tylenol use during pregnancy and saying that nobody should take it when there's no substantial evidence that the recommendation should actually change. Yet, the NIH has created this Autism Data Science Initiative, awarding about $50 million towards research endeavors. The FDA is changing the drug monograph to recommend leucovorin, which is folinic acid, to treat autism spectrum disorder when the studies are limited and only to a certain subset of patients with autism spectrum disorder. This is completely getting out of hand, and there were a ton of anti-vaccine talking points sprinkled throughout. It's going to take me time to be able to debunk all of it. I will be making regular posts about this as well as on my Substack, so if you want to learn more and get
one of the reasons it's so easy for people to fall for anti-vaccine talking points is because most of us don't know what these vaccine preventable diseases are. Run through the list of things that we currently vaccinate for, tell you what it would be like for our children to die from those vaccine preventable illnesses. First, we have polio. Now, polio causes paralysis. And you know those pictures of kids in the iron lung, because paralysis can affect your diaphragm, which helps you breathe. Pertussis. Pertussis is whooping cough, and the way babies die from pertussis is they suffocate. They cough, 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 causes apnea. Okay, diphtheria. It causes the formation of this disgusting slimy membrane in the back of your throat, and it actually gets so big that it obstructs the airway and causes you to suffocate and die. Tetanus. It can cause tightness of the vocal cords, muscle rigidity, incredibly painful spasms that can ultimately prevent you from being able to take a breath. The chicken pox can cause respiratory failure, severe respiratory infection, and you can die. So measles, pneumonia, brain swelling, and death. Mumps. Mumps causes swelling in the parotid gland. You know what it also causes? Swelling in testicles. And you know what inflammation in your testicles can cause? Infertility. Rubella is a tricky one because if you got rubella, you would be fine. But if you got rubella while you were pregnant, it could cause miscarriage, stillbirth, loss of hearing, loss of eyesight, developmental delays. HPV, it's a cancer vaccine. It prevents HPV-related cancers. You know what else HPV causes? It causes genital warts. It's preventable. And two vaccines we absolutely take for granted, Hib vaccine and the pneumococcal vaccine. And before we had a
If vaccines work, why should you care if other people get vaccinated or not? You should be protected, right? I see these comments posted everywhere, and usually in a very disingenuous way, as it's like a gotcha moment. But it just implies that you don't understand how vaccines work, which there may be people who legitimately want to know, and so I am here to explain it to you. So if you're anti-vaccine and you posted this in a very snarky way, I challenge you to actually watch this whole video for the explanation. This is one of the best explanations I've seen from a layperson's perspective. Nothing is 100% effective. Yes, it can improve your immune system response. Yes, it can prevent you from either getting the infection or having a really severe life-threatening response to an infection. But a large part of the way that vaccines work is improving the community rates of infection and spread. And so I love this analogy. You're not putting on armor, you're building a dam that protects the entire community, and every vaccinated person is a brick. This is the concept of herd immunity. Just like a herd of sheep or cattle is safer in numbers.
I'm Dr. Jason Goldman, president of the American College of Physicians. Today, the American College of Physicians, representing over 162,000 internal medicine specialists, call upon President Trump and Congress to remove and replace Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services. As physicians and scientists, we have lost confidence in the Secretary's ability to perform his duties in this role. He is.
Do you remember in school when we would do group projects and you would get put in a group and you'd be like, who are these fucking dipshits? America is one giant group project right now, and a lot of us are just being held hostage by the stupidest fucking people on the planet.
So at first, Trump was trying to pretend that his assault on free speech was about violent speech or hate speech, but he's not even pretending anymore. Here's what
He will prevail over the forces of wickedness and evil. They cannot imagine what they have awakened.
That's Stephen Miller, the White House Deputy Chief of Staff, speaking at Charlie Kirk's memorial. His words closely mirror a 1932 speech by chief propagandist for the Nazi Party, Joseph Goebbels, called "The Storm is Coming."
We are the storm.
Goebbels was a key architect of the Holocaust and Hitler's close confidant. He used the stark dichotomy of good versus evil to justify Nazi superiority, galvanizing the base for revenge against perceived enemies through a religious moral framework. Stephen Miller rallied supporters using the same language.
That fire burns with a righteous fury. We are on the side of God.
Goebbels also demeaned critics, portraying them as subhuman and dangerous, just like Miller.
Those trying to foment hatred against us, you are nothing. You are wickedness, you are jealousy, you are envy, you are nothing.
Miller, Vance, Trump, RFK Jr., and Hegseth all used Kirk's death as a basis for building a movement and permission structure to crack down on the left in the US. And they did it by...
He's a con artist, he's a demagogue, he's a grifter. It's all transactional. He's obviously morally bankrupt, intellectually limited. And he reminds me of the figures I covered in Yugoslavia who rose up from the swamp of Tito's decayed Yugoslavia, Radovan Karadzic, Slobodan Milosevic, Franjo Tudjman, and Weimar too. I mean, if you look at the collapse of Weimar, you have these buffoonish thugs, which is what the Nazis were. He and the people around him are just mediocrities, goons. So, I mean, we're in big trouble.
A lot of it, though, is this woke stuff that would, like, take your breath away. I mean, research into transgender mice. I mean, it was just the U.S. taxpayer dollars should be funding that.
See, I called that out on my show. That was, it wasn't transgender. See, that worries me about you, Charlie. You seem to have swallowed that one whole, like a snake does a mouse, without looking into it. It was transgenic mice.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It was not, but it's hugely different. Transgender, that's just going along with what the mob thinks. It wasn't. He got it wrong, and no one was around to tell him that he got it wrong. He just went with it. Transgender. It wasn't transgender. It was transgenic. They were studying mice for health reasons, serious cancer-solving reasons. Nothing to do with transgender. So
I stand corrected on that.
Okay.
Was just...
Here are some things that have happened in just the last couple of weeks. The President of the United States, aboard Air Force One, has threatened the broadcast licenses of television broadcasters whose coverage he disapproves of and said that the coverage is too negative. The Department of Defense is now requiring journalists who cover DOD to submit in advance their reporting to the Pentagon for pre-approval. We've seen the Federal Communications Commission wielding threats of removing broadcasters' licenses to influence who appears on those networks and what they say.
Since it seems like everyone on the internet got a lobotomy last week, we need to have a conversation around some baseline facts as it pertains to political violence. Because as we all know, we cannot have any kind of dialogue, discourse, or debate without a shared set of facts. The statement I'm going to make is that political violence is not a problem on the left, it is only a problem on the right. I'm going to show you some facts that are going to back up that statement, and then we're going to move on. There were 442 people killed at the hands of extremists between 2014 and 2023. 76% of those people were killed by right-wing extremists. This is information that came from the Anti-Defamation League. This is a figure that shows how much domestic terrorist attacks have grown against government, law enforcement, and the military since, 2016. What could have possibly happened in 2016? Donald Trump entered politics. So specifically where we saw an uptick in political violence. I know you all can read, but I'm just going to emphasize there have been more right-wing extremist-linked deaths than any other group since 2013. This is what
I've said before that there are a lot of reasons we chose to move out of the country, but
This reason in particular was by far the most devastating for me as a parent. So to set the stage, I have a 7-year-old who would have been going into 2nd grade this year in the US, and a 4-year-old who would have been going into pre-K. And our 4-year-old actually was drawn in the public pre-K lottery for her elementary school, which if you are a parent who pays for daycare, you understand how big of a blessing that is. But the kids were excited for months that they got to go to the same school, and our oldest was being the best big brother and just trying to tell her all the ropes and talk about the school and like get her prepared for her first day. One day they were playing in the basement and they were really quiet. So I went down to check on them and kind of like peeked around the corner, and I see our 4-year-old hiding and our 7-year-old standing over her, kind of instructing her. He tells her not to make any noise, just to be quiet and be still, and to not be visible from behind the couch where she is crouched. And then he says something that gave me context to what they were doing and just like broke my heart. He tells her, "You have to make sure you can't be seen, so when the bad man comes into your school, he doesn't get you." He's coaching her through an intruder drill. And if you have a kiddo in the US school system, you know exactly what an intruder drill is code for.
So today we gather here in Arizona, one of the great places in our country. I'd say it's one of the top 55 states, to honor a great person, Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk. I remember he said to me, "Sir, you're the greatest president we ever had." And I said, "Thank you, Charlie." And he was right. You know, he was right about that. He was right on a lot of things. And I will talk about him shortly, but our country was a disaster. Our country was a disaster until I saved it. And I saved it with great strength. And unlike Charlie, I was shot and survived because, you know, I'm not insulting. I'm just saying I survived. You know, like Gloria Gaynor. Remember her? I will survive. And I did. And Charlie didn't. So I guess that makes me better than him, but we still honor him today.
Hey, so Jimmy Kimmel's back tomorrow. So ABC announced today that tomorrow Jimmy Kimmel's show will be back. Guess why that happened? Can everybody guess why that happened? If you don't know why that happened, stick around. I'm going to tell you. If you think you know why that happened, you can comment now and I'll tell you if you're right or wrong. So it's because every fucking body canceled their Hulu and their Disney Plus subscriptions. Now, me personally, I don't know when it's going to hit the news of what happened today, but the blowback from this whole ABC News canceling Jimmy Kimmel Live is historic. Not only are people canceling their Hulu app, their Disney Plus apps, their ABC apps, people are boycotting Marvel
studios, Marvel Comics, movies, and any Disney movie. People are protesting outside of Disney in Burbank today. People are canceling Disney cruises, and people are canceling trips to the Disney parks, Disney World and Disneyland here in California.
See minority unemployment going up. You see younger people who are more vulnerable economically, more susceptible to economic cycles. That's one of the reasons, in addition to just overall lower payroll job creation, that shows you that at the margin the labor market is weakening.
You have to end it now. Sid, I can tell you, I'm really good at this stuff. Your countries are going to hell. In America, we've taken bold action to swiftly shut down uncontrolled migration.
I think it's impossible to listen to Donald Trump appearing on the international stage and not think this man is literally unhinged, irresponsible, bizarre, bonkers, ludicrous. I don't even know why his staff are allowing him to stand in front of a mic at this point. It was...
Well, guys, the big story is that Jimmy Kimmel was suspended by ABC after pressure from the FCC, leaving everyone thinking WTF.
And what we need to do is either leave the UN or we need to bomb it. And what we need...
We just saw the president go off on world leaders like you could say, have not seen him ever do before here at the UN General Assembly behind me.
The United Nations wasn't there for us. They weren't there. What is the purpose of the United Nations? All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle. All they seem to do is write a really strongly worded letter and then never follow that letter up. It's empty words, and empty words don't solve war. The only thing that solves war and wars is action.
There was a great deal of American nationalism and a lot of, well, this too.
We're the hottest country anywhere in the world, and there is no other country even close. America is blessed with the strongest...
Some breaking news, and I'm here to show it to you in just a second. Early this morning, a 12-foot tall statue of Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein was erected in the National Mall right in front of the Capitol. Let me show it to you. In honor of Friendship Month, we celebrate the long-lasting bond between President Donald J. Trump and his closest friend, Jeffrey Epstein.
Smart people don't like me. They're wasting their time with the Epstein hoax. They're stupid people.
Just some food for thought for the weekend. Anybody who fought in World War II in Germany against is ANTIFA, anti-fash, and if your government is trying to tell you to be anti-Antifa, that's them also admitting that they are the critical thinking. What happened to Charlie Kirk today is not okay. And what happens in schools all across the country all the time is also not okay. And if you're more mad about Charlie Kirk than you were about little kids in schools, then you need to check your priorities.
I think even when buying, I think any publication, I would most likely be, I think that, aren't there a few of you, I want us, there's gotta be, look.
I still can't wrap my head around it. I mean, I'm not in America right now. I'm in London, England. And people on the streets are chanting for America and Americans. Stop the bombing now. It's kind of crazy seeing how the rest of the world is reacting to what's going on in America. They're not standing idly by. They are taking time off work and gathering in the tens of thousands to come out into downtown London from all over Europe too, and there's Americans here and people from all over the world to basically make sure that the world and America knows that they stand with America and Americans.
President Trump said...
What now? What did he say?
President Trump said the United States invented everything.
I can't. He's so egotistical. He's so unhinged.
I will also sign an executive order to immediately stop all government censorship and bring back free speech to America.
Shockwaves across Hollywood tonight after ABC announced it was indefinitely pulling Jimmy Kimmel Live off the air.
They told us the cancel culture was the left's weapon. But look around. It's the right doing the canceling now. The FCC chair, a Trump ally, attacks Kimmel on a MAGA podcast.
Joel, what stood out to you?
Well, you know, Anna, this is Trump unconstrained, first and foremost. And clearly, he decided to get a lot off his chest. And, you know, I've been going to UN General Assemblies, either working on them or outside and speaking and meeting with people or commenting, of course, as well. Like this morning, I've never seen a speech like this. This was bonkers. This was out of control. It made no strategic sense. It did not lay out a vision for how we're going to actually achieve our goals in a multilateral forum. It did not talk about the threats the United States faces and what we need to do to counter them. Apparently, the biggest threat now is renewable energy. That's our number one concern, not nuclear weapons or terrorism or China's encroachment in Asia or Russia's war against Ukraine. And so I found it incredibly damaging to America's standing in the world.
Donald Trump shit his pants today. The reason Donald Trump was late to his press conference today that was supposed to happen at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, but did not actually start until 4:46 p.m. Eastern Time is because he shit his pants. And unfortunately, I wish I could say this was just a figurative thing, but he quite literally shit his pants. He came out, which, by the way, he announced today during this press conference that our drug prices are going to be reduced by 1,000%, which if you do not know what that means, we're going to get paid for medicine now. To reduce the cost of something that we pay for by 1,000% would in turn mean what? Neither here nor there. He also ended 7 wars.
Among the MAGAs, a lack of education is common, leading to a limited understanding of the world around them. This undereducation fuels their reliance on misinformation and conspiracy theories as they struggle to differentiate fact from fiction in their environment.
U.S. News won't show you this, but I will. The president of Germany just issued one of the harshest warnings about Donald Trump yet. In his speech commemorating the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II, the president of Germany just said that Trump's policies represent an epical break from global democracy. He did not hold back at all. He's accusing Trump of wrecking alliances, cozying up to extremists, and basically tearing apart the post-World War II rulebook. This isn't coming from the radical left, from Twitter trolls. This is Germany's head of state, warning the world that...
And we're going through the same process with the NIH that we did with the education.
But there's a
$2 million for injecting dogs with cocaine that the NIH spent money on. $75,000 for Harvard to study blowing lizards off of trees with leaf blowers. That's the kind of waste that we've seen at the NIH.
A few decades ago, NIH-funded researchers spent years studying the venom of a tiny tropical marine snail called a cone snail. What's interesting about that snail is that instead of biting, it stabs its prey with like a tooth that contains paralyzing neurotoxins. Scientists at the time were isolating peptides to see how they affected nerve signaling in animals. If I were being dishonest and working for a government that wanted to cut scientific research funding, I would use this as an example of waste and tell you that your tax dollars are going towards studying venomous sea snails and how their toxic spit affects fish brains. Seems pretty wasteful. That research led to the discovery of a peptide that blocks pain by shutting down calcium channels in the spinal cord. And that became the foundation for a non-opioid pain medication that's now used to treat chronic pain in people who have like cancer treatments or spinal cord injuries, especially in people who don't respond well to opioids or who are at risk of addiction.
All these eradicated diseases are going to come back because these people aren't inoculating their kids.
So as a pediatrician working in the area of the country that we do see these diseases like measles and pertussis coming back because people are not inoculating their kids, I take interest. But let's see what our car-based, internet-educated wellness influencer has to say about the science of inoculations.
And not spread something you do not have. Do you know that? You know that? I can't spread something I don't have. And just FYI, if you also don't know, that when you get a inoculation, that you are getting injected with a small part of that virus, disease, whatever it may be. You know that? So then you become a carrier. It's in your bloodstream. It's in your system.
So as a human physiologist, I do know that, since most vaccines contain a small protein component of the virus or the bacteria they're trying to protect against, and most often those protein components are involved in the locking or the binding mechanism to our cells. That way our body can recognize those binding proteins, so when it sees them in their natural form, it already knows how to disable them. But we do not become a carrier for that disease. Same way that if I give you a car tire, I don't make you a car owner or a driver. You simply have a tire and know how it works. That tire, without the rest of the car, is not going to do you any good.
So if you are getting immunized for polio and measles and whatever thing they're going to make you scared of, you become the spreader.
But that's the beautiful thing about inoculations. You don't have to get the whole illness and all the horrible risks and death that come with it. Because by giving you a very small part, we can teach your body how to respond to that illness without you having to have the illness. And you don't become a spreader because, like she said, you can't spread what you don't have. Vaccines in their current formulations cannot give you an active form of the disease.
It's the ultimate fear is that you no longer lose you no longer have your democracy to be able to make change peacefully.
He knows he's going to lose the midterm elections. He's underwater and he's weak in every category. Donald Trump is weakness masquerading as strength. He's weak in every key category. That's a fact. And I think it's an important fact. He knows that. And that's why he dialed not for votes, but he dialed for seats. He said he's, quote unquote, entitled to 5 seats. Called Greg Abbott, who was totally supine, said, yes, sir, and gave him the 5 seats in Texas to change the maps. He did the same thing in Indiana, Missouri. He's doing the same thing in Florida, likely Ohio. And
listen to the Prime Minister of Spain, Pedro Sánchez, give a speech talking directly to the leader of the Spanish far right.
Le escucho y pienso, pero ¿cuánto odio destila usted con los extranjeros que viven en España y trabajan y contribuyen al crecimiento económico de nuestro país? ¿Y qué admiración profesa usted a los oligarcas que trabajan desde fuera para destruir Europa y contra los intereses de España? Señoría, lo que amenaza la prosperidad de España y de Europa no es la inmigración, son los aranceles al campo, a la industria, ante los que usted calla. Lo que amenaza la democracia de nuestro país no es la migración, lo que amenaza la democracia de nuestro país son esos tecno-oligarcas a los cuales usted pone la alfombra roja y que trabajan para usted expandiendo odio en las redes sociales. Lo que amenaza a nuestra sociedad, a nuestra convivencia, no son los inmigrantes, son gobiernos como el de Orbán, que ayer lo que ha hecho ha sido prohibir manifestaciones de los colectivos LGTBI en Hungría, o lo que hacen ustedes, banalizando y negando la violencia de género. Lo que amenaza nuestra seguridad no es la inmigración. Lo que amenaza nuestra inseguridad son los gobiernos negacionistas, como el que usted está apoyando en Valencia, que niegan la evidencia científica, el asesoramiento técnico y amplifican el drama de catástrofes de emergencias climáticas como las que hemos vivido en Valencia el pasado mes de octubre. La verdadera amenaza, señoría, para Europa y para España es esa internacional ultraderechista que trabaja desde fuera por destruir Europa desde dentro y cuya sucursal en España.
We have major breaking news right now. The Trump administration is going to indict former FBI Director James Comey as soon as this week in the Eastern District of Virginia.
I just finished watching Trump's speech at the UN, and this would be the point where I'd normally hold up a coffee cup and say, I hope your coffee's as good as mine. Hell, I hope it's better. Because I really do wish good things for people, but I can't do that right now. Because I can't drink coffee right now because, and this isn't hyperbole, watching that speech made me physically ill.
If you want to stop political violence, stop telling your supporters that everybody who disagrees with you is a Nazi. If you want to stop
for the liberty and austerity that they do fight for the life of our nation, Lord! For the liberty of our people, liberty!
It is time for you to give up on 2025. Quit while you are behind. Fuck it. This year has been a fuck up, and some years are fucked and cannot be unfucked.
남아서 이러고 싶은 사람은 없었을 것 같아요.
Nobody is going to stay and work when it's like this.
다음에도 다 같이 나갈까라는 생각도 좀 들기도 하고.
After this situation, we considered leaving our jobs.
굳이
I don't know how the
I think it's a good thing that they're lifting the vaccine mandates. Sorry, I think that's good. Because evolution is still going. So if you're a Homo sapien who's doing their own research, you and your dumb fucking family will just die off. And if you're conservative in the room, I don't want to make you talk down to you, make you feel stupid. Evolution is a theory that Charles Darwin had. That they teach you in science class when you're in school. Sorry, science is a study of systems and nature, and logic and how they work together. Sorry, logic is, you know what, just don't take the vaccine. Don't take any medicine at all, actually. You'll be good. I'll just be over here chugging Tylenol, making the next Alan Turing.
Here's a quick, friendly reminder that if you think being anti-fascist is a threat and an enemy to the state, then you must think the state of America is fascist.
Still believe he really got shot? Follow for more.
If you Google the word idiot under images, a picture of Donald Trump comes up. I just did that. How would that happen? How does search work so that that would occur?
That is inappropriate, President Trump, that a president in office should be engaged in so much business activity.
Well, I'm really not. My kids are running the business. I'm here. You know what the activity, where are you from?
I'm from the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, Four Corners program.
Well, the Australians, you're hurting Australia, right? In my opinion, you are hurting Australia very much right now. And they want to get along with me. You know, your leader is coming over to see me very soon. I'm going to tell him about you. You set a very bad tone.
Well,
go ahead, John.
Okay,
maybe you can set a...
We're the most prosperous country in the world. Yes. You and I are very lucky. We live the American dream. Where did things break that people are completely angry and they don't feel like there's a common good and they only want to serve themselves, or they think that person on the other side of the street, they're not part of their community, they're the enemy based on how they live, how they vaccinate, how they vote?
Yeah, look, the ancients did this too. Barbarian refers to how the foreigners would speak, bar, 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 right? We've always been about the other. But there is something strange about the richest man in the world telling the richest country in the world that spending 1% of its budget on aid for the poor is insane, right? That's
That's insane. What good is power, wealth, success, the strongest military in the world, if we can't use it to be a force for good in the world? And so I think it is hard when the most powerful and important people in society are not modeling these virtues that we have always held up as the highest form of human greatness.